I remember in grade school we used to fill out those career guide surveys. It was supposed to give us some sort of sense of direction, help us plan our futures. But if you've ever taken one, you'd know that the results don't please anyone. Most kids aren't ready to make decisions like that, and they rebel against the idea of being pigeonholed. Then there are those of us who know what we want to be. No matter how many times those surveys told me I was supposed to be a doctor, or lawyer, or whatever else it decided I was that day, I just ignored it. I knew what I wanted to be. I wanted to be a United States Army officer. Nothing else. Some people say a sense of purpose like that is a gift. However, I found it's more of a curse. A cynic would say it's because I grew up as a part of a generation bathed in violent television, first-person shooters, and over 70 years of war films on Netflix to choose from. Maybe all that contributed. But at heart, it's not any of that stuff. I don't think war looks fun. I don't crave the intensity of battle, and the idea of killing another human being actually makes me feel a bit uneasy. Combat is actually something I think I still fear deep down, despite training. I know it sounds cliché, but I hate war. But there's been this feeling inside me since when I was a little kid. It was a calling to protect others. I can't really explain it, but when I was lucky enough to meet a few Delta Force veterans who had fought all over the globe, I knew who I wanted to be. I had read a few of their backstories. They had seen some crazy shit. These were the kind of guys whose job was to seek out hell on earth and then try to put out the flames. Many of their friends didn't make it home. When I talked to them, they didn't recollect about the glory days of battle or muse over the adventures they had gone on or the places they saw. I've never met a more humble group of individuals. It wasn't easy to pry it out of them, but the only solace they took away from their job was that Americans could sleep a little better at night, knowing that rough men like them were on the watch. That is the kind of peace of mind I want. That was the peace of mind I almost had. Turns out a few years of Army ROTC won't change genetics. Just a few weeks before my commission, the Army reviewed my PT scores. Since I had just barely passed many of the more aerobic tests, they had me go in for another medical screening. Exercise-induced asthma. I have struggled with it my entire life. My dreams of being a ranger or special forces had ended a long time ago, but now I wasn't even going to be a soldier, let alone an elite. The Army had looked the other way when I first signed up in college. Things must have changed up the chain of command since. Now, with thousands upon thousands of young men already lying motionless on the blood-soaked battleground, efforts to preserve the population's gender balance started to work their way into military policy. I was told that I was unfit for combat, and a possible medical liability. Then, out of the other side of their mouth, told that I was too valuable and not worth risking. Veiled insults, in my opinion. So now, here I am in the PA Civil Defense Corps. I have a uniform, a gun, and even an important assignment, but it's not the same. Sure, I'm a trained infantryman. A trained officer, really, but that doesn't mean anything to me without being a soldier. At least Jack is with me. Jack and I have been friends since as far back as I can remember. He was always the stronger, faster, and, in a lot of ways, smarter of the two of us. He was convinced by his family not to sign up for the military, and he even made it through college without being called up for the draft. Recently, he was working as an engineer for Lockheed, but he told me he needed some time away and ended up joining civil defense with me. We both got assigned to guard the airfield at Lancaster. Well, it's technically just a militarized airport, but its strategic location is important. The Stryker brigades that were here left about a week ago, and the place has been inactive. There aren't even any personnel left to run the control tower. I haven't even seen a plane land since we got here. Not much of an airport. Although Jack seems to enjoy doing donuts on the runway. I had to stop him from using the Humvee, though. I've got a feeling that if a couple of civvies wrecked the National Guard's truck, they'd be pretty pissed about it. Let's just hope nothing happens to it. Every part of my being wanted to ask if I could go with them to the front lines. The problem is, once you've been medically blacklisted from one branch of service, there's no chance of getting into any of them, even the National Guard. Still, they're not my unit. If I were to approach them, I'd be basically asking if they would take me on as a liability. And it would be wrong of me to do that. Maybe I just need some time to think? I suppose I'll just do what I can within civil defense, and if the PLA come knocking at the door, well, at least I'll get to put my training to use.